Brothers and sisters, Alec, I was delighted to hear that you were going to take speakers in gender rotation, because for the last 8 years I've had to get up at rallies like this and follow Bob Crow. And given that this is probably my last major speech before I retire, I'm very pleased not to have to do that. Thanks, Francis, for taking that task on. I am leaving shortly, and this is probably my last speech. In 1972, in January that year, I joined the railways. And I went home and I said to my mum, I've got a job in the railway. And she said to me, you have a job for life, son. How many people in the railway these days, this privatised, destabilised industry, that these politically driven, ideologically driven Tories feel that they've got a job for life? We didn't have great pay as a book and clerk. Don't get free passes. Not everybody gets anything like the free passes that you would have got in 1972. We had a pension scheme that everybody enjoyed, everybody could contribute to. We know how much it was costing us, and it didn't give us huge luxury in retirement, but it gave us dignity. We are struggling with what's happening in the pensions industry, in the railway industry at the moment, and that's another challenge that we're going to have to face in the very near future, as well as McNulty. In the briefing document that the trade unions have put out, has said that this is breaching Mark II. And I don't think that that's an over an exaggeration to say that's exactly what these proposals mean. I was only a wee boy in the early 60s, but we've seen what happened to Beeching. And in fact, in Scotland, there's a lot of the lines of Beeching closed in the 1960s are now being reopened, because railways are the future. That is the transport mode of the future. If only we take the blinkers off and see that our roads can't cope, and in this environmentally challenged world that we live in, putting more aeroplanes up in the sky just doesn't make sense. But what does McNulty actually mean? Well, it's been said, and I'm not going to repeat everything here. Job cuts, stations de-staffed, 650 stations de-staffed. It's an actual proposal, you know. Category E stations, and we've looked at it, there are 650. McNulty says take the staff out of them. What does that do? Well, Maria said about women not wanting to travel in the evening, the disabled not getting the service that they need to help them on and off trains, and our stations becoming a mugger's paradise. A mugger's paradise. We've got to actually make alliance with the communities and with the police, because it's the police that we get called in whenever there is trouble in these de-staffed stations, and we've got to make those alliances. At this particular time, when these attacks are coming from this government, we should be making alliances wherever we can find them. We've already got the dearest fares in Europe, and people have talked about the increase coming. I live in Northampton, and one of the reasons that I've decided to go just one of them, and it is only a minor one, I don't fancy paying another 30% on top of the £4.5 grand I pay at the moment for a season ticket to come in and out from Northampton. Do you know, it's cheaper to go in one of Richard Branch's Virgin aeroplanes over to New York than it is to get one from a train from Houston up to Manchester. This guy's been coining it in for years into this privatised industry. We've let him away with it, Maria. I was very proud to go to the Labour Party conference in 2004 and to argue in the teeth of opposition from the platform. Alistair Darling was the Transport Secretary at the time, to argue that the right structure for the railway was in public hands, publicly owned and public accountable. That is still the Labour Party policy, and it's time we held the Labour Party to account to implement it. McNulty talks, it's this language he uses, there's a wage drift. And I went into saying, so what do you mean by a wage drift? Well, wages will be drifting upwards. So everybody's wages goes up, nobody's in and negotiates a pay cut. But deep inside the McNulty report, there's a gem in there. Railway workers in Britain are the 4th most productive in Europe, and yet he talks about a wage drift. And I said to him at the time, but what about executive pay? Where is it in your report where you talk about executive pay? Where you talk about Network Rail executives dipping their nose in the trough year after year after year? Where is that in your report? I can't find it. And I can't find it because he didn't mention it. You know, I'm absolutely convinced that somebody gave him the executive summary and said, right, go out and write the report that actually stacks that up. It identifies fragmentation. Well, anybody that wants the rail can tell you that fragmentation is a problem. Unbelievably, his answer is more fragmentation. I mean, you couldn't make this up. £200,000 for telling you the obvious, and then saying, here's a way to make it even worse. It didn't identify the profit motive at all. It's been a contributor to the rising costs in the railway. Not one word that if you've got 300 companies that are all required to make a profit or else go to the wall, well, it's bound to increase your cost. Isn't that obvious as well? There's a clause in there in the executive summary, clause 24. It talks about less prescriptive franchises to allow talks more freedom to respond to the market. Consultancy speak. If you're not making money out of running trains in the evening, you're free to stop running them. That's what that means, and let's be clear about what it means. Now, this government has already taken on the civil servants, and they'll get their answer, a part of their answer, on the 30th of November. When this white paper comes out, it will be the next attack, and it will be an attack on railway workers. It will be an attack, as Bob said, not just on workers, on passengers, on taxpayers, but it will be an attack on our industry and our industry's future. That comment my mother said about people having jobs for life, we should have a railway industry for life. And what is wrong with having railway people having jobs for life? Absolutely nothing. That's what we should be fighting for as a trade union movement. So they've taken the civil servants on, and they're going to take you on next. And Bob says that we're here today to decide what we're going to do. Do you know, in my nearly 40 years in and around the railway industry, the one obvious thing that's been obvious to me as far as defending workers' rights, railway workers' rights, is that for far too long, it's not just the last 40 years, it's over 100 years, for far too long, we have allowed the bosses to divide and rule us. We've got the fight of our lives coming up, and if we do not unite as railway unions, then we will be on our knees and we will not be there to fight in the future. All the best for the future, all the best for trade unionism, and solidarity will win the day.